Good morning, good morning. How are we doing, boys and girls? How are we doing? Howdy, howdy. Good morning, boys and girls. Yes, this is a lot of chaos circuits being made at the moment. I'm testing a theory. Unfortunately, it's a slow and methodical theory. So if you've joined from the Discord notification, there will be a lot of standing in Ogrimmar today. An awful lot. My dog is eating a giraffe. Semi-headless giraffe. How are we all doing, boys and girls? I hope you're well, though. There was no stream yesterday. IRL kind of caught up with me a little bit yesterday. Yesterday, some of you may know, was 4th of July. We have a family friend who is married to an American. So they came over, they visited yesterday, and we made a bit of a deal of it. Which was partly the reason for no stream yesterday. I had to get some stuff done. I was still dipping in and out of Discord here, there, and everywhere, but we are back today. A little bit late. I'm sure some of you can probably guess why. Oh, look, somebody that wants to be banned straight away in Twitch. That's incredible. First thing in the morning. You know you're doing something right when you get people strolling in trying to sell you shit. Love that. Yeah, so today, a lot of chilling in Ogrimmar, playing around, poking with professions. I'm not going to be doing anything serious. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I am tired. Hence why I am late to the party this morning, but I will be testing a few things, putting a few things together. I have, for better or for worse, I have yet to decide, created a document. A document has been formed. It was time. There's some testing that needs to be done around some pilfering action. So I'm very intrigued by this, considering the expense of that silly mount. If 3.1 million gold is what they're baselining the value of this mount at via vendor items, I am intrigued very much so to how much players can generate them for through the engineering profession. And if, big if here, if this is going to work as one of the most aggressive material sinks we might have actually ever seen, which is what intrigues me more than anything else, because it could very, very cleverly hoover up an awful lot of the trash. Something that they didn't really get a good solution for in Dragonflight. What do I mean by hoovering up the trash, though? Well, the suspicion at this moment is that pilfering parts, this will make a lot more sense to people in a minute when I can showcase it properly, but pilfering parts on an engineer doesn't seem to have much difference or reliance on the quality of the stuff you pilfer. Meaning there's an opportunity here for all of the quality 1 shit nobody ever's going to really want for much else being able to be hoovered up and recycled into making these mounts at some value. Hard to determine at the moment, but you can't determine this stuff unless you've got some data to back it up. So this is why I am doing some testing. I am predominantly testing whether quality 1, quality 2, or quality 3 materials spits out any noticeable difference in mount materials. Problem is it's a very slow and laborious process to test it. Can I preview the mount? Probably. This thing. So, he's quite obviously this. The proportions of this are a bit off. it looks monstrositous. It looks flipping huge in this preview. When you see people using it, it doesn't look quite as ridiculous. And yes, it's supposedly bind on equip. You can just sell the thing. You can either purchase the materials off a vendor, and the combined cost is 3.1 million gold, or you can pilfer stuff. You can take your random ass components from engineering, the parts, and you can salvage them. And through salvaging them, there is the opportunity to generate the parts needed to make this. But there's two ways to go about getting this. Just straight up buy the mats off the NPC vendor, hand over 3.1 million gold, be on your way. Or alternatively, combine the parts, find the parts, maybe even buy the parts off the auction house if they end up being sold for less than what they sell for on the vendor. Who knows? But I'm doing a little bit of testing here just to try and clarify if quality matters or not. If I can determine quickly whether quality matters or not, then we can do some more accurate testing. But it's all, I'm going to be honest, it also feels very early to be doing this, but I wanted a reference point for if something does change in the next few weeks. Any blue text on why the bow left inscription? Could have sworn it was... well, my only thought of removing the bow, potentially, is that engineers make guns. And it's a direct, competition. If you can use a gun, you can use a bow, and vice versa. They're technically different, but they're basically the same. So I suspect it's just to give a little bit more to engineering, potentially. I don't know. There's usually, if you're buying a crafted weapon, there's usually one crafted weapon, maybe two at best, but the second one might have a pre-built embellishment on it or something. I don't know. Or they just decided they didn't want a bow anymore. I don't know. Do you agree with Blizzard increasing concentration to 1,000? I don't mind them increasing concentration to 1,000. If anything, it's a nicer, rounder number. Like 500's just an odd number to do maths in your head with. 1,000 sort of is nicely divisible by 10. It's gonna make, quick maths of how much things you can make faster and easier. The only problem I think with having it at 1,000 is that if it recharges at the same rate, that has basically doubled it. So we're basically going to have twice as much concentration as was maybe initially planned, which is almost in the opposite direction to where I expected them to go with it. But I've wanted concentration to be pretty restrictive. And it seems that Blizzard doesn't agree with that. It seems like they want concentration to be a thing that you have to deal with, but they don't really want it to be much of a restriction, is the impression I'm getting with it. Which I think is slightly problematic, because it will mean very, very quickly, people won't worry about it. They'll just spam it on whatever they can use it for to turn a very small profit. And it runs the risk for me of being another one-season adventure for crafting. Season 1 will be all hustle and bustle, and everybody trying to desperately level stuff up and optimize their materials and play with it. But then by the end of Season 1, people will have been able to do enough to practically eliminate the need for concentration in most places, or aggressively minimize the amount of it that's going to be needed, especially for crafting endgame stuff. I don't think missions via work orders are going to last very long at all. For me, this is good, right? I don't like work orders. I don't like having to deal with work orders. I'll do work orders if I need to do work orders to get some skill points here, there, or everywhere, but I don't particularly like work orders. I think the viability of work orders is going to disappear very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Once players can guarantee quality 5 gear for other people, it's done, right? Nobody will be charging anything for crafting stuff. Especially coming out the back of Dragonflight. The beginning of Dragonflight, people got away with charging 10, 20, 30, 50k for a craft. Because people didn't really understand what the market price was, what they had to pay to get something. People have had an entire expansion of it going from 50k down to people not even wanting to pay somebody 500 gold to craft something for them. And that is now the routine for most people. That, all right, they might go back up to paying 5, 10k for a craft temporarily, but I don't think people are ever going to really, you know, the highest peak I don't think is going to be as high. Especially considering quality 3 materials are going to be significantly more expensive. So if the materials that go into making something increase, that's going to come out of people's tip budget. Meaning I suspect people will be even stingier with their tips, potentially. Commissions, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So I'm not sure it's going to last any more than Season 1, if you are going the work order route. Certainly not from a goal-making perspective, you know. It'll be easier for guilds. It'll be simpler for guilds, right? Guilds will be able to go back to keeping everything internal. They'll have a handful of crafters in the guild that cover all of the professions, and slowly they will just have everything, and they can just make everybody their gear. They won't need to outsource it to other people on the server and that sort of stuff. It makes crafting from the buyer's perspective simpler, but in turn it will mean that there'll be far less opportunities for the crafters to make any gold with it. The gold will come from smartly creating top quality parts, I think. Using quality 2 materials and using concentration and using lots of alts to do it. Crafting the materials will be more profitable. Not necessarily, since profit is only dictated by how much people need of it. It's the same concept again. If everybody does the same thing, nobody makes any gold with it. But I think a lot of people will still have the mindset of like, let's go make some gear for people. Let's do crafting orders, because that's, you know, that's the path to success. But then very quickly you'll start to see a bunch of people switching over to crafting materials. Those that go crafting materials from day one might lose out a little bit in the first couple of weeks because they'll be hampered by the amount of concentration. They'll burn all of their concentration on making a small amount of top quality materials, and then that'll be it. They'll be done for the day. So they may not make massive gold straight off the bat, but they'll make more consistent gold for the long term. So if you're in it for a quick win, craft gear for people. If you're in it for like steady gold throughout the entire expansion, go the material route and do it on lots of characters. Lots and lots of characters. I saw the video mining herbalism. I remember that it doesn't take 48 hours, that T3 mats are superior and the others are meaningless. Because you get easy tier 3 herbs. Hang on. Well, gathering isn't going to gather quality 3 materials anywhere near as frequently. And base materials is only one step on the ladder. Most often you'll find that those raw materials go into making intermediates, And yes, if you want to make quality 3 intermediates, you will need quality 3 raw materials, but you will still also need to use concentration. So it will still limit the amount of like actual quality 3 intermediates that are then mostly needed to craft everything else. There's still a limiting factor in there. Yeah, they're just making it much more difficult to get top quality stuff, I believe. But with a path, making it more difficult, but leading to a path where you can eventually guarantee it. Do you think buying the permit for the mount is the only way to get it? No, I categorically know that you can pilfer for it. I have seen proof. It is possible. It is possible to pilfer and to get the permit, which will be a nice 1 million gold proc when it happens. What about gems? What about gems? Character's still bricked. Good job it's beta. I can make another one. How have you bricked your Well, you do silly things, Mikey. That's the problem. You try and break things. I mean, I say silly things. You actually test things properly. I did a very silly thing. Oh, well, there we go. That doesn't surprise me. Right, I need to make 1,000 of these real fast. We're up to 700. They're too slow to make. I suppose while I do this, I can... Whoa, what am I doing? Resize call. Get some data. Yeah. Are we nearly at 1,000? Getting there. Once I get 1,000 quality 1, I can pilfer these and I'll quickly get an indication of whether doing quality 1 is ever necessary. Whether we can just pilfer quality 3 and assume it's the same results. I did a horrific vision of Stormwind and went into the Mage Tower. And the Borealis portal was there, so I thought, what if? Well, you get bricked. That's what if. Oh, and don't mount your Grand Expedition Yak either. Oh dear. Oh dear. Professional breaker of all things. I was thinking if racials for professions should change, because having more skill is kind of weird. They should have a higher chance to gain a skill. That'd be more natural if they have racial predisposition. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to change the racials. I've sort of determined that they don't really make a blind bit of difference, honestly. Let me... you don't follow me on Twitter, for starters you should, but I tweeted out the other day... will racials matter? This little example here was of probably not too easy to see. Let's go. Oop. This little example here, a fully maxed out Jewel Crafter, completely maxed Jewel Crafter, doing some crushing to get gem dust. using quality 1 bismuth to break down bonus ambers, I had 180 skill, fully maxed, min-maxed all over the place. You need 185 skill to guarantee quality 2 gem dust. So at the moment, this would give me quality 1 gem dust every single time guaranteed. If I had the racial, it would instead spit out quality 2 gem dust, meaning that there is a slight advantage there. But let's not forget that a non-Draenei, in this case, without the racial, could still achieve the same by using concentration, and it's literally 1 concentration per craft. So it's like you could still press the button 1,000 times with your concentration without strictly needing the racial. So it's kind of like there's an advantage there to having the racials, but I believe it to be so minimal that this could also very easily be a rounding issue, and this not actually even cost you concentration to do. There's very, very rarely a situation where the racials make any difference. And even when they do make some difference, it's really not game breaking. I've not found anything where I'm like, oh snap, okay, this really makes me need the racial. But, you know, your mileage may vary. If somebody finds something, then they find something. Follow on Twitter, by the way, boys and girls. Right, we're nearly at 1,000. We're getting there. God damn, so flipping slow. Even with crafting speed on. It's probably because I don't have a tool that also gives me bonus crafting speed. I probably should have sorted that out as well. Is my War Within spreadsheet going to be free for all or only for subs? I have no idea. It's not publicly available at all for anybody yet. Because there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. I made it yesterday. Nothing in it. My Goblin Guide to the War Within is going to be available to my Patreons. That is for sure. My gold goblins over on Patreons will get access to that first. Whether it filters down at any later date, we will see. But somewhere in the region of 300 hours of effort's gone into that already, so I'm not giving that away for free. Make sure that people who have supported me in the past get first dibs on that sort of luxury. Alright, come on, less than 100 to go. When we've got 1,000, we can finally pilfer these things. I'm sure there's a quicker and easier way to generate chaos circuits at quality 1 rather than crafting them. But I only need a small quantity to confirm my suspicion. Even 1,000 isn't particularly statistically accurate, but best I can do at the moment. Especially with like no multi-craft, no resourcefulness or nothing. We're just gotta brute force everyone. I hope when we pilfer like 1,000 chaos circuits, I can kind of tell you what I'm expecting to get from these. I'm expecting to get about 30 to 35 bountiful bolts, and then 3 or 4 additional items. Not much more, not much less. So I'm not expecting a lot, but if I get somewhere similar to that, I'll know that quality when pilfering doesn't really matter. Which I hope is the case, because then it means that it's a really, really cool recycling system. Because when we look at the materials that go into making any of these parts, I mean, nullstone is always going to be expensive, I suspect. And when it starts to even consider not being that expensive, jewel crafters are going to hoover this up way before people are going to be crafting these things en masse. Chaos circuits using ore and gemstones could be a good recycle for all the quality 1 gemstones. They'll end up flooding the market because there's no way to turn quality 1 into quality 2 and into quality 3 with gemstones. But prospectors can get gemstones natively by prospecting without even crushing to get it. Crushing is just the alternative way to get it this time. Meaning there's probably going to be a lot of this knocking about at quality 1 and quality 2. Quality 3 is still going to be the most desired, but quality 1 and quality 2. Don't be jumping on the Patreon right now, by the way, boys and girls. Like I said, it's I have not decided exactly what's going where and when or anything like that. Nothing is available yet. There's no just chill for now. Chill for now. It's one of those that if you want to support via Patreon, they offer the advertised perks as they stand right now, but nothing is confirmed in that regards. Alright, we got our 1,000. Good. We'll craft more of these later. We got our 1,000. Let me send these over to my actual proper engineer. We can do something constructive with them. I was going to make 2,000, but at the speed it's taken to make these, I ain't messing about all day. Manthe engineer. Still get disconnected every time I log off a character. I don't know why that is. Hopefully new lariat-like recipe. I don't suspect we'll get a lariat situation again. Not that it was overly problematic, really, because there was enough people that had the recipe. It was just the drop chance of the thing was made ludicrously bad. Where did these come from? Oh, I must have, done some bonus orders. What? You completed an order, but you did not send it back to them. The order was about to expire. We sent it to you free of charge. Oh. Sure. Whoops. Other night I dreamt that you were working as a water physical therapist off stream. Then I was in London and all the young women were wearing a superb brown lipstick I just had to have, so thanks for the weird dream. Wow. Lay off the red wine and blue cheese. That's some crazy dreams right there. Sheesh. It's fun sometimes though, when you have those loopy dreams and you don't know why. Right, am I clear and free of any parts that are going to conflict with some pilfering? Yeah, I think I am. So let's pilfer through quality 1 chaos circuits. Crafting speed fine, resourcefulness fine. Pilfer 200, go. I'm expecting somewhere in the region of about 1,300 pile of rusted scrap, and somewhere in the region of about 25 to 30, maybe 35 bolts. If we get something similar to that, I can go by the assumption that at least current build, quality when pilfering doesn't matter. Anthony trying to sell you a TV too. I sold TVs back in the day. I would like to say I was very good at it. Is disenchanting any good? I've not done much disenchanting. Mostly because doing a lot of disenchanting is also a lot of hard work, because you have to make items to even disenchant in the first place, which I haven't really figured out yet. I've not got that deep with enchanting, if I'm honest. I've done a first look at enchanting, but I've not really paid too much attention to it yet. It's difficult because there's actually, you know, when you try and cover all of the professions, you realise there's actually quite a lot of them. And, for example, the other day when I did my herbalism and mining video, there was a couple of people that were a touch disappointed with my first review of herbalism and mining. Well, I say review, it wasn't even a review, it was literally a first look. There was a few people that were a bit disappointed that I didn't cover it in enough detail for them. And somebody piped up and was like, yeah, I was doing this for 10 hours on the beta and you didn't even cover this. And I was like, how much time and effort do people assume I put into each profession before making a first look video? First look videos are literally that. They are first looks. I might pick 2 or 3 professions to dive like 10 hours deep into, but considering I don't do much gathering even on live, that was never going to happen. It gives me a good feeling, though, that people expect, like, people have a high expectation for my content, which is equally a positive. Plus having to redo everything later when there's balance updates. Yes, this is something I've learned before. I've learned this over doing many test phases now. That there isn't actually that much value in deep diving the crap out of something too early. Even though people want to, you know, soon as something is made available, people want to know everything about it. I've learned the hard way. Under most circumstances, you want to tread lightly, get a good feeling for how everything is being put together, and then go crazy in the last 3 weeks when we're likely to see things actually get finished and like in release candidate style mode. Start doing too much stuff too early and then you just have to do everything twice. It's not enough hours in the day. As it stands so far, material-wise, we are doing about what I would expect. So this is leading me to believe that quality 1, quality 2, quality 3, when doing pilfering, quality of the item you pilfer seems to not make any difference. Which results in more content. Well, it's not really because there's also something I now try and avoid doing. I try and avoid, where possible, talking about stuff that I have a strong suspicion is going to change. Unless it's like a major new feature. So like NPC work orders, I'll cover it week by week when something new changes to it. But in terms of profession stuff, this is why you haven't seen me do like any prospecting or anything right now. Because I knew categorically that if I spent a bunch of time, talked about prospecting, by the time, like, it would probably change 3 times before the game goes live. And there's been scenarios in the past where I talk about things and people grab that information and then they miss the bit where it changes. And then they go into the live version of the game within that scenario, false information. Which is more why for this expansion, I'm pulling back a little bit from video content, and I'm focusing more on my written version of my guide, because then if something changes, I can change the written version of the guide, and it's changed for everybody instantly, sort of thing. I make a video and something in that video changes. If there's a 10-minute video and there's something I say that lasts 5 seconds in that video, the only way I can easily fix that is to remake the whole video again, which then some people might not. It's just not great. It's not the best way to get information across. Video form stuff will be a lot more frequent when we get closer to the expansion, and a lot more detailed, because then hopefully it will be like, boom, this is borderline factual at this point. Sure, I could harvest clicks all day long if I really wanted to, but there's no value in that to anybody other than for myself. 1,427 scrap, which is about what I'd expected. 39 bolts. 1 assorted whirlywig. Any blinker fluids? 4 blinker fluids. No cataclysmic converters, but 1 pummel-proof plating. No permit. But what that does mean is it indicates to me that what you get via pilfering quality 1, quality 2, and quality 3 don't make a blind bit of difference. It's basically the same.
What's up?
Which, at least for some preliminary testing, good news.
Catch you on the flip side.
Right then. Well, if that's the case, let's have a little bit of a play and see if there's much difference between the different parts. Because I reckon there probably is.
Peace, friend. Ancestors watch over you. Greetings, traveler.
Where's the engineering bag of goodies? I think that has quality 3 variations of everything in it.
May
Maybe we'll just buy them from here.
sun shine upon
Quality 3 bolts. Get a few stacks of quality 3 bolts. Three bolts, whimsical wirings.
Have a good one.
Right, let's break through these and see how these differ. There's part of me that kinda hopes there isn't much difference between these, but what I also know is there's a significant price difference between these. I don't expect bolts to give me much of anything at all. They're going to be super cheap. Which gear's necessary for crafting, like Lariat in Season 1 Dragonflight? To be honest, we're unlikely. Everybody wants to know if there's a Lariat type situation. The reality is we are unlikely to know until the game goes live. Mostly because people won't have done, you got to wait for Sims to come out. The only reason the Lariat situation existed in the first place is it was a collision of two. The stars aligned with the Lariat, right? They made something that was both a recipe that was super goddamn ridiculously rare to get hold of, whilst at the same time it being on everybody's BIS list. If it wasn't on everybody's BIS list, nobody would have given a damn about the fact it was super rare. Look at the Alvin the Anvil. Look at the ring-bound hourglass. These are items that people cared far less about because it wasn't on BIS lists. If it was on a BIS, it can, in essence, it can still be rare, but people don't care about it. The price will be high because it's rare, but it's not like a market for like crafted gear per se. It's got to be on a BIS list before people really care about it. That information will turn up maybe pre-patch, maybe not even realistically until the game goes live. So it's something to keep your eyes open for, but it's way too early for anybody to have really any idea about that sort of stuff. Skipper with the Prime, thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome. Right, let's pilfer our way through. Should we do these bolts first? I'm intrigued by these bolts. I got my crafting speed buff on. We do. Make sure we haven't got any other components lying around in here. Right, pilfer a stack of bolts. I'm not expecting this to be very lucrative at all. Let's rename this to handful of bismuth bolts. Reason we can't do the same thing then for, what are these things called? Whimsical wirings. Is that his one? Whimsical? Whimsical wiring. Okay. Have we... Oh, we've had some bolts at least. I'd be massively confused if we get anything other than bolts though. Because hopefully with a little bit of data, like we can start to put crafting prices to the components that go to make the crafting prices as well as vendor costs to the materials that make this mount, and we can start to see if there's any way to determine whether people are going to be able to craft it for less than 3.1 million gold, or what material, or what you can do would be really clever is figure out what would materials need to cost for people to be able to craft it for less than 3.1 million gold. The worry I have here is that it will set a floor price on materials that's way too high for Blizzard's liking. And the way that they will fix that is they will probably adjust the vendor prices of the same materials. Or they'll completely break this whole system, which is also entirely possible. So I already think that this has got exploitation written all over it. When you have a limited vendor item worth 1 million gold, that's significant enough for players to do naughty things in the game. Especially something that can then easily be sold on the region-wide auction house for 1 million gold as well. Nice day for fishing. We could do some... I should do some fishing. Haven't done any real skinning. I haven't done any real fishing. They're the last two professions I need to poke around with, play with. It's got a vendor sell value. It could be a nasty deposit cost. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, what if it sells... Yeah, that's a good point. What if it's got a resell value to a vendor for like a few 100,000 gold? Woo! Yeah. What is it? 48-hour listing. 48-hour listing is, I believe, 40%. If I remember this correctly. A 48-hour listing is 40% of the vendor sell price. Somebody did the 500 gold toys for 48 hours. They got undercut and then relisted them all. Oops. Yeah, that's going to hurt. Okay, so far, luckily, we have seen significantly lower quality results breaking down bolts, which is good. 410 rusted scrap and 10 bolts. That's it. That's not to say it's not possible to get the others. It's just to say that it's less likely.
Be careful out there.
Not statistically accurate until you do it 3 times though, so go again. Yeah, what have been some of the other vendor, like, I remember, like, what were they called? Progenitor Essentia. Or, no, what was the one before that? Corthite crystals. That had a vendor sell price of only 50 gold. They had a vendor sell price of, I think, 50 gold. Was it 30 gold? I think they had a vendor sell price of 30 gold. And people were posting them on the auction house for 32 gold. And cancel scanning them at 32 gold. It was like, oh my god, what are you doing? People were like literally pissing money down the drain. We saw that all too frequently. It was 50 gold. Was it maybe that it was 50 gold, but a 48-hour deposit was 30 gold? I think that was maybe it. So if you posted it for 48 hours and it didn't sell, you'd basically lost gold because you wouldn't even be able to vendor it to make your gold back or something. It was a bit of a silly situation. Still got one on the realm crafting and selling blacksmith tools for 20 gold a piece. They vendor for 40. Oh dear. Whoops. Whoops. Goes to show there's probably a lot of people that don't have a vendor option in their auctioning strings TSM. When I used to set up new servers, used to get a little starting capital, I'd vendor search the auction house for items that had high vendor price than posting price. Made a surprising amount of gold on it. It's true. It's true. It was a good way. Quick little vendor search. buy things that people were selling for less than what you could just take them straight to a vendor to. Usually good for a good, you know, bit of seed money. Lots of people just don't use TSM altogether. Well, that's also true. TSM's too complicated for new players. One would, like, I still think one of the biggest barriers to entry with TSM for new players is that the default auctioning operation is horrendous. I've said this a few times, but if anybody's ever actually looked at what the default auctioning operation is, pretend for a minute that you know nothing about TSM and look at that auctioning operation, you are not going to have a clue what's going on. How is anybody meant to come up with something more customized and more useful to them when even the default is terribly complicated? I've suggested to the TSM guys before that they maybe address the fact that the default auctioning operation is trashed here. They've made it like to be a catch-all. They've made it so that it will always post practically everything. But in doing so, they've made the operation outrageously complex for new TSM users to understand what's going on. Whereas I think TSM could probably inform the players a lot. It would be better if TSM took the route, I think, of actively not choosing to post things on the auction house, but then being more descriptive about telling the player why. Like, this did not get posted because, like, cause currently you can vendor it for more, or currently it's 40% cheaper than it has historically been. Like, the market is crashing, don't sell now, sort of thing. I'm sure they could do a lot more. It's felt to me like they should go the route of, like, just not posting stuff and then telling players why it's not posted, rather than having an operation that will post anything, but it will post things at stupid prices. But it's not my add-on to make those decisions about, so first thing I do when I make a new TSM profile is I delete the default auctioning operation. Literally the first thing I do. And that's what you'd probably consider a power user of the add-on. That doesn't really... You wouldn't expect that to be the case. Right, last stack of bismuth bolts. These are remarkably underwhelming to pilfer. Expectedly so, though. But until you have the data to back it up, it's just a theory. Proper starter profile with some customization options would help. Yeah, I'm sure they could definitely do some smarter things. Which ore do you suspect to be the best? What? To farm or prospect, or best for what? If from a farming perspective, at least the way the beta stands right now, the acrite ore, this stuff, the red stuff, is basically only found in the last zone. Ashgahet. It's basically only found in the last zone. You'll see a sprinkling of it in the other zones. You basically do not find it at all on the Isle of Dawn. Now, I don't know if this is deliberate, or whether it's just that the node spawns are bugged or not fully implemented or what. We don't know, but this stuff is significantly rarer than Iron Claw ore. Let's put it that way. Even though they're both considered uncommon ores, Iron Claw is way more common than Aquite ore. And then, of course, you have Nullstone, which is technically... I mean, it doesn't have quality. And it's not really easy to consider it an ore. Although you do get it by mining and it can still be prospected. And it does go into crafting a lot of stuff. I'm intrigued to see what happens with Nullstone, honestly. Nullstone, I don't think is ever going to get that cheap, because as soon as it dips below a certain point, prospectors will snag it all up and prospect it, because it's the best for prospecting, but it has to be at the right price. That price may never happen, because it's rare enough that it might get snagged up for actual crafting first, but... What's the I only get basic tooltips here. Maybe if I read the mining journal, it'll make more sense to me. Oh no. Oh no. That's going to ruin my data. I had 82 crafts left. Whoops. Remember the memory leak in Dragonflight Professions they never fixed? It's not fixed on the beta either. I was looking at this yesterday, actually, because I was doing quite a lot of pilfering. There is still a memory leak, but there also appears to be a cleanup that happens every 10 minutes-ish. It looks like they've done something to address the problem in a true Blizzard Band-Aid way. Because I was watching my RAM usage go up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and then randomly it would just chunk like 2 gig of RAM, and then it would start going up and up and up and up and up again. So they haven't fixed the memory leak. Or maybe it's just that the crafting queue data is still stacking up pretty high, but once it reaches a threshold, they nuke it all. I don't know what they've done something. They've done something, but it's still not fully fixed. But yeah, we'll see on launch. See on launch. I suspect that now that we have, let's think about it, milling inks, or milling herbs, crafting inks, we have prospecting, we have pilfering. What other incredibly time-gated aspects of processing is there? I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head, but there's a good chance that there's a couple of accounts that will pop up in the background that will be just running this sort of stuff. Oh, unraveling. Yes, of course. Of course, unraveling. There's potentially 4 accounts running simultaneously. Damn, maybe 64 gig of RAM is not going to be enough. Do I upgrade to 128 gig of RAM just for the War Within? Bit ridiculous, right? If they ever finish unraveling. I'm amazed that tailoring is still so busted at this point. I don't know at what point we start to like press the panic button on this, but when you think about it, we're only a couple of realistically, we're only a couple of weeks away from pre-patch. And by the time pre-patch kicks in, they are going to want to like sign off a release candidate version of the build, like of the expansion very quickly. So although there's like 50 or so days left, there's, in my eyes, still an awful lot for them to do with the professions. Because it's the final things that you know, seemingly probably take the longest as well. The initial implementations, they use a lot of copy paste, but once they've done a lot of copy paste, what they then have to go through is they then have to manually tweak and adjust and fix everything. And it's that process that doesn't look like it amounts to a lot, but is probably one of the more time-consuming things to do. And probably takes the most attention and focus from a dev to even do it. Wow, we only got 3 bolts, that entire 1,000 ore. Okay. Oh, sorry, 1,000 bolts.
What do you need? Go
Wait, what? Oh.
to victory.
Catch you on the flip
Right.
side.
Let's break down something that might be slightly more lucrative here. Whimsical wirings. Where's me speed buff gone? Go. Three days of pre-release to test everything. Well, this is why they do pre-patches. So they get, because pre-patch implements nearly all of the systemized stuff into the game. So let's not forget that things like NPC craft orders are something that we are likely to see turn up in pre-patch, not the launch of the expansion. And that's, like I said, literally a matter of weeks away. Systems tend to get implemented in pre-patch. They then smooth out any of the problems that pre-patch brings with it, and these systems have when they get implemented to the true retail version of the game. And hopefully it means they just turn on the new zones. You know, they press a big button at the Blizzard HQ. They just turn on the new zones and everybody go, go, go. So whilst there is, yes, still technically like 50 days or something until the game truly goes live, it needs to be mostly release ready for when pre-patch launches. Even if there is stuff that we do not have access to, it'll still be pushed with pre-patch. Is usually how I'm led to believe it works. Do you smell a delay? Oh, absolutely not. No. It requires significantly broken core concepts of the game for delay to happen. There's nothing significantly game breaking right now. Blizzard spends far too much money on marketing to delay shit these days. Far too much money goes into marketing. You throw a delay and all of a sudden you've doubled your marketing costs. You've got to do it all again. So that won't happen. Just ship it broken, fix it after. Yeah. Base game works pretty well on beta. Not many broken quests left. Apart from the final zone that is still just fucking broken. The entire zone doesn't work. The final zone is a buggy mess. You can't fly in the zone half the time. And it's not just a latency thing. There's some serious coding issues going on with the last zone. Acting like their stepsister company, Bethesda. I suppose, yeah. What a stepsister to have, eh? That's not the stepsister you want to find stuck in the washing machine, is it? Jesus. I haven't had a lot of issues in Ashkahet. 2 out of the 3 times I go there, I turn around and go back again because it just doesn't work. I've barely tested Ashkahet at all. Oh my god, Step Company, what are you doing? Should I call a plumber? Should I call the same plumber who is also a pizza guy? Who is also a spaceman? Who is also a doctor? Chat derailed real fast. Whoops. That bald guy, yeah, call him in. Right, whimsical wirings seem to have the same loot table as bolts. We have 402 on the scrap numbers, and all of one bountiful bolt spat out. That is team tragic, that is. Well, it's not science till you do it 3 times, so you watch a flipping permit will pop out now. Really throw the spanner in the works. Oh shit, I've just realised I've ballsed that up.
Yo,
Put these in here.
have a good one.
Call the man of many talents. He's that talented, he's probably going to get a knighthood. If he was to get a knighthood, what would actually be knighted? Just a small crown. Okay, I'll stop now. Right, if whimsical wirings and bolts are appearing to be on roughly the same sort of loot table, we're going to assume whimsical wiring. In fact, I can't click on these, otherwise it will break this, I think. If I can. Whimsical wirings and bismuth bolts having the same loot table makes sense, considering the only difference between making them is the fact that they're going to take a frayed wiring, which I assume is a new vendor reagent. Gyrating gears. Bismuth, aquarite, ley line residue. Aquarite, bismuth, and crystalline powder. These have probably got the same... loot table. Then would we assume that chaos circuits have a different and probably the most lucrative loot table, because they require both uncommon ores and gemstones. These are going to be the most expensive to make, excluding entropy enhancers. I think these are going to be outrageously expensive, and nobody's ever going to pilfer these things because of null stones. My suspicion here. So if you spend all of your concentration, it takes about 2 days for it to be full again. Roughly, yeah. It appears to be about a 48-hour recharge. Fully recharge. Or a simple 500 concentration a day. Oh! We got an assorted whirlywig. So there is at least more things on the loot table. They're just significantly less likely to pop out. Okay. There is technically another level to this. You could then technically also scour through scrap after. you've got to throw more time at it, but then you convert all of these rusted scrap into A, more materials to repeat the process with, but B, mostly just vendor items to then go and sell. Which means the profitability or viability of doing this is going to be a lot more difficult to actually calculate, because it's sort of a circular recycling system. In recycling, you get scrap, and that scrap can then be turned into more components, and those more components can then be turned into more scrap, and that more scrap can then be turned into yet more you know, not completely a perpetual loop because it's not net positive, but to take X amount of parts to begin with, you might have to go 3 or 4 tiers of processing before you've actually processed everything. And the more the resourcefulness you stack, the better that outcome will be. Right, this time we have got done. You've done 382. 7 bolts this time. And a whirlywig. Whirligigs, even. Not a whirlywig. Doesn't go on your head.
What's shaking? Keep your ear to the ground.
Right, last stack of this stuff. Pilfer. What are we doing? These things. Right, last stack of these. Please don't break on me, game. Gonna sound like a boomer, but they were simpler times. I like the new crafting system. I think I have been relatively critical in Dragonflight of the new crafting system, but there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this new crafting system is light years better than what we had for many years prior. Light years better. It was admittedly almost a completely different game though, because when you add the new profession system and the region-wide auction house for commodities together, you are basically creating something that cannot be compared with what we had previously, because the landscape was just too different before. Every different person on every different realm having different prices for different items and for different crafted items and such. Was every single realm was its own mini economy. So you can't you can't really compare apples with apples in that regard. But I do think that for those players who enjoy tinkering and playing with the profession systems, the War Within is likely to be pretty profitable, I would imagine. Because it is taking away some of the holes in the system, really. Dragonflight profession system was a fantastic first implementation, but there was a couple of game-breaking problems with it. Inspiration being one of them. So now that they've got rid of inspiration, it quite most definitely could be a much smoother, much fairer, much more enjoyable experience for more people to play with. Dragonflight also had the problem that it was brand new, so everybody did it. And the one thing we should all learn about goalmaking very quickly is if everybody does it, nobody wins. The reason you make gold is because there's a gap in the market. If there's no gaps because it's far too busy, because everybody's trying to do it, nobody makes anything. It's not as much the new crafting system I dislike, it's actually Blizzard's lack of information and the region-wide auction house. Sure, there are big profits to be made, etc. But what if I used to do was better for me to have it server-wide? Yeah, true. There's people had their own little markets that worked in their own little corners. But yeah. Putting everybody in the same arena, making the auction house like a bit of a battle royale situation, where instead of everybody playing with a handful of other people in their own lobby, you've all dumped into one arena and just told to fight each other. Of course, you know, it's going to create more losers. We used to have 100 servers, roughly, on the EU. I think it's 92, technically. But let's just say, for the sake of maths, 100 different servers on the EU. That meant there was 100 micro-economies just in the EU. And that means that the biggest goblin on 100... You'd have 100 different people that could have the title of being the biggest goblin on their realm. And the biggest goblin on the realm would make the most gold. You put all of them into one arena, then all of a sudden those 100 goblins who were previously big fish in small ponds are now competing with each other. And there may only be like 5 people that can like make the same amount of profits as you did previously. That means there's 95 people who previously were doing very well for themselves who are now not anymore. Because they've just been outdone by 5 even more sweaty degenerates than them. This is why people have to adapt. You have to adapt. This cross-realm arbitrage has become very popular in Dragonflight. It's going to become even more popular in the War Within because the floodgates will open for people to be able to do it. Admittedly, it will make the profitability of it less. And it's quite a time-consuming thing to do if the profit disappears from it. So that'll be interesting to see just how that plays out.
Glad I could help.
Right, we need some new components. We need some gyrating gears, and we need some safety switches.
I need a target.
Oh, the XL I had for cross-realm trading, bliss. Yeah. Yeah, tracking where you bought shit from, what you paid for it, where you've sent it to, what you sold it for, like, all of that sort of stuff is,
We shall meet again.
probably quite a challenge. Right, 3,000 are you fellas. What do we also want? Safety switches. I'm suspecting these might have the same loot table.
Keep it real.
Imagine competing with somebody like Hircons. I don't think it's particularly hard to compete with somebody like Hircons, honestly. Because he just does... He spreads himself very wide. That's why Hircons makes quite a lot of gold. He spreads himself wide, and when he then stumbles across something that makes quite a lot, he'll focus in on that a little bit, but he'll still predominantly spread himself pretty wide. So Hircons is unlikely to be like the Don in any one of his markets, but he's just in 50 different markets. So it's the spaghetti at the wall approach, you know? And it works pretty well for him. Gyrating. Did we put the old parts away? We did. Right, go. What are these things again? Gyrating gears. Gyrating gear. Did I switch from Auctionator to TSM? Tried once, but it feels way beyond my ability to learn such a complex add-on. Am I at a disadvantage? Will it negatively affect my goal making? Well, it's about the same as using a handsaw to using an electric saw. You'll get the job done, but one makes the job significantly easier. But if you are doing something once, do you need the electric saw, or can you just do with the handsaw? It's a tool. TSM is a tool at your disposal. If you figure out how to use the tool, you get to the point where you can use the tool more efficiently. If you are repeating the same process over and over and over and over and over again, then it's better to have something like TSM in place to help you do it. But if you only periodically play with a few bits and pieces, maybe you don't need to buy the electric saw. Just, you know, go the easy route, buy the handsaw, just get it done the first time. I know I talk in metaphors a lot about this sort of stuff, but it's the easiest way to sort of, it's the easiest way I find to sort of get the point across. That it's not 100% mandatory to do it. You got to spend quite a bit of time and effort figuring out how an add-on like TSM works. You could say the same about weak auras. Weak auras, you know, can you play the game without weak auras? Of course you can. Does using a suite of weak auras make raiding every single week significantly easier? Yes. Absolutely. Made approximately 20 million in Dragonflight, first 10-ish from gathering, rest from jumping in late to the professions in Season 3, all with Auctionator. Well, you've answered your own question then. Honestly, I mean, if you're happy, like, if you're happy with your results, then if it's not broken, don't fix it. There is an argument to say that could you have made 40 million if you used TSM instead? Maybe. But that's a hypothetical that there's no real answer to. Is TSM still as bad for performance as it used to be? Haven't used it for multiple expansions. It used to lag me out when logging in, significantly longer load times. It's a heavy add-on. There's no denying it's a heavy add-on. Yes, it is going to impact your load times. But like I said, it's another one of those, isn't it? Like, you've got to weigh up the options. Is the extra second or two load time game breaking for you? It might take you a second or two extra to load in, but if it saves you 2 minutes when it comes to posting the auctions, then it's still a net positive, right? Wonder how many people are not using any add-ons or weak auras at all. I think you'd probably be surprised how many people play purely vanilla. Because there's always this kind of thought, right, that if you are somebody who is, the fact that you're here right now, you're watching some dude on the internet mess around on the beta for a game that's not launched yet, indicates that you're probably in the top 5% of players in terms of like engagement metrics, say. There categorically has to be a massive player base of people who play this game. They don't watch Twitch streams. They don't watch YouTube videos. They rarely are going to check third-party websites for news and information on them. They're just going to log in and play the game. And then log out when they no longer enjoy playing the game. Those are equally going to be players that are probably also way less likely to have full in-depth suites of add-ons and the likes. I don't know how, you know, I couldn't tell you what the ratio of players is of that sort of nature, really, but it's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot. Oh, hang on. These parts in the bank.
Be careful out there.
No question, there's an awful lot of players that have very simple play styles. Had a dude in Castle Nathria Mythic when we were doing council. He died to a mechanic over and over. No issues before that. At the council, it was an issue. So the officers were like, DBM will tell you where to run. His response is, what's DBM? Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. S-tier professions, clearly fishing. We're almost at the stage where maybe a preliminary, maybe when pre-patch launches, we'll do this sort of content. This is kind of like, it's not clickbait, but it's kind of like widely adopted channel growth kind of content. If I were to do like a tier list of professions or something like that, that's something that might reach out a little bit further than my general audience. So I tend to time videos like that a little bit more carefully. There's no point me launching something like that right now, as there's not enough people who are interested in that sort of stuff yet. But hopefully in a couple of weeks, when they've still got a few things to smooth out, we still really don't have much of an idea. I can guesstimate that tailoring might be cool because tailoring makes bags, but like tailoring is still so broken, it's hard to really get a feel for it. Blacksmithing up until recently has also been pretty broken. A couple of the professions feel as if they are missing their sort of like final flavor. Inscription, for example, feels like it's been absolutely gutted of... Inscription has like less than half the amount of craftable recipes this time round than it did in Dragonflight. Now, admittedly, because of the dragon riding customization things, Inscription had quite a lot of extra padded recipes. But Inscription seems to have been pretty gutted of stuff, and I'm wondering if they're going to replace what they've taken away with anything new or interesting. Otherwise, Inscription is going right to the bottom of the table. I've not tested fishing, but apparently fishing has got some little additions to it this time round as well. Not to mention, there's like 1 billion different fish you can get this time. So Some sort of tier list style content will come soon. I've got multiple people started on TSM or goal making in general. One guildie I just told to turn Rousings into Awakened, and he did pretty well. It's kind of shocking how even sometimes the simplest things will work. And you got to remember, people's expectations with goal making are so different, right? There are people out there that have never, ever, ever, ever had more than a single token's worth of gold, which is not too hard to do now. Like when you look at the token in the EU is what, like 400k gold now. When the tokens are 400k gold, it's quite understandable that there are players that have never had more than a single token's worth of gold. And so making 10,000, 20,000 gold to these players is massive. Huge, right? Actually ridiculous. So, if you've made a few million gold already and have consistently got, if you're in the 7-figure club, making 10k gold, you don't get out of bed to make 10k gold. You got to remember people's expectations are very different as well. I struggle with this a lot because after Shadowlands, I've dismissed a lot of things that do technically make gold just because it's so far from what I still consider to be like a good goal-making threshold. My threshold is still way too high. Like if I'm not making 50k plus an hour, I just don't bother. But there are players out there that would happily make 10k gold an hour and actually be happy about it, kind of thing. $994, 30 bolts, 2 whirligigs, a blinker fluid, and a cataclysmic converter. Is that a cataclysmic converter? No, that's a pummel-proof plating. That's Peter Piper picked a pick of pickled pepper. Still no pummel permits from anything though.
Hey, how you doing?
I have while I have not found a pummel permit
Let's make
myself,
sweet profit
I have
together.
been sent a screenshot of somebody who did get one, so I know they do exist. And considering their vendor value is 1 million gold, I'm kind of glad that they're rare.
Keep it real.
Right, one last stack, I think it is, of gyrating gears to get a little bit of an average. Right, go. Oh my lord, we've run out of, try that again. Not doing this without crafting speed buff. Kato-sama with a prime. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning to you. Or, well, maybe good afternoon by now. Which professions are looking the most fun? Not necessarily profitable, but fun. Engineering. Engineering looks like it could fall into both categories for me. I might eat my hat on that, but purely this crafted mount. Chasing down this crafted mount. It's Gamba. It's Gamba. You can pilfer through parts and just pray to RNGesus that you get something cool pop out that makes it worth your while. Some people like that. Some people hate that. I wouldn't recommend it IRL, but in a video game, sure, you do you. Alchemy, because it's both got the discovery system for leveling it up, plus things like thaumaturgy, is going to be quite an interesting one to figure out. You may have also noticed I haven't done much with thaumaturgy yet, even though it's kind of a big talking point. This is also mostly because it's undergoing changes nearly every single beta build, and I want to wait till the changes slow down and we get to something that may be considered more finalized. I'm always a big fan of jewel crafting. I've been a jewel crafting main literally forever, because Jawn crafting never has a bad day. I don't think Jawn crafting's had a bad patch, like literally ever. It just doesn't happen. People always want gems. It's a profession that is so heavily linked with player power, always has been, and for as long as they keep making gems, always will be. You've got some interest. You've got 3 very distinct routes with Jawn crafting. If you are going the prospecting route, you will not be cutting gems for other people. If you go the gem cutting route, you will be buying your gems. You won't be prospecting for them yourself. They've really, really split Jawn crafting, well, mostly in 2. There's the 3rd option, which is making rings and necklaces, but we'll see how that ends up. But they've really split Jawn crafting in 2, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. Enchanting I've not looked at as much, but enchanting I feel is still very... Enchanting hasn't changed forever. And enchanting used to be really cool just because enchanting was more lucrative. Enchanting, unfortunately, has gone the way of inscription, or is going the way of inscription. Inscription died when they stopped making glyphs, in my opinion. And now that glyphs are region-wide, it is double dead. Enchanting always used to be really lucrative because some of the enchants were rare and difficult to get, and they were then expensive, and then you were also crafting and selling them to just the people on your realm. So if you were on a realm that was really raid focused, you'd have a lot more success with enchanting. Plus, it used to synergize really well with things like tailoring, so that you could make shit to then disenchant it. Enchanting, though, has lost its vibe, I think, in the last couple of expansions. They just make crests now, and outside of making crests, sure, you might have some ridiculously high, expensive weapon enchants, but it quickly gets smushed. I wonder if this time, because they've added quality to enchanting mats, and they've lifted the level of every enchant. So if you want to make level 3, quality 3 enchants, it's going to allow for many enchanters to go different routes, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but I'll save you with a 31, by the way. Thank you very much. I am trying to keep up with these. I'm going on mini TED Talks. I'm not missing these subs. I appreciate them all. Thank you. Concentration is going to make the market interesting. Yeah, I'm really liking the fact that every single possible item you can craft has basically the same level of difficulty, which means that it's going to require people to specialize. You could way more effectively choose to specialize in this one intermediate material and have 10 characters that are just churning those out at quality 3. Like, I already see it, that everybody is going to use their alt armies, and everybody's going to go alchemy and tailoring, because that's what everybody's always done. But there's way more opportunity this time round for somebody to make 15 leather workers that all specialize in making one intermediate leather, because for some reason most of the rest of the region has just ignored it, and there's just a drought of quality 3 intermediate leatherworking mats for some reason. But you know, there's so many more. Every single craft is a cooldown craft, the War Within. And I don't think most people have put 2 and 2 together with that yet. Most people are still looking at, like, what are the actual cooldowns? People are still thinking, like, tailoring bolts, and they're still thinking, like, transmutes. But I don't think so many people have quite realized every single item that you can possibly make. Look at the recipe difficulty on everything. There's not one with a recipe difficulty of 60, one with a recipe difficulty of 100, one with a recipe difficulty of 250. No, even bismuth bolts you could technically specialize in. And you are not going to be making these at max quality without significant effort. Even the most entry-level materials are going to require specialists to produce the best ones. So it really opens the floodgates for people to sort of go in this route, because there's a gap in the market right here, and it, you know, way more so than what we've seen before. Right, that was the last of our gyrating gears. We've now seen pretty reliable results. Similar amount of bolts, 29 bolts. 4 of these whirly-whirlies. No blinkers, no converters, no platings, no permits this time round.
Well, spit it out.
Right, safety switches next.
Go get him, champ.
Safety switches. Where are these in my list? Go, go, gadget, go. Talked about tailoring profession bags. I'll check the VOD. Oh no, I really didn't. I merely said that they exist. There's nothing really to check with. I think the general problem's the wide availability of mats. Well, there won't necessarily be that wide availability. There'll be a wide availability of quality 1 and quality 2. There won't necessarily be that wide availability of quality 3. This is what they've very carefully constructed with the War Within. And I think that this might come as a bit of a shock to people, because there is a strong chance that there'll be quite a price difference between quality 2 and quality 3. Quality 1, quality 2 materials will be of a similar-ish value, I suspect, but then there might be quite a jump to quality 3 materials, especially in Season 1. Because it's basically going to be that there is not going to be a quality 3... There probably won't be a quality 3 material that will exist without the use of concentration for a good couple of weeks. So that any quality 3 has been made by somebody using concentration. That hardcore limits the amount of them that can exist. And when that limitation is in place, when at the very same time everybody will want those quality 3s, because they themselves will also be trying to make their things at top quality, the supply is going to be limited and the demand is going to be high, which is a perfect storm for significantly higher prices on quality 3 stuff. And that's before you consider goblins doing goblin things, right? When goblins do goblin things, the opportunity for region-wide buyouts on quality 3 materials, woo, spicy meatball. I suspect reset days, we are going to see some ludicrous resets happen. Because the market as a whole, the economy as a whole, will not be able to react fast enough to counteract an aggressive reset. If somebody, let's say some quality 3 material is 100 gold throughout most of the week. It's 100 gold because it costs 78, let's just say 80 gold. Let's say it costs 80 gold to make it. People are selling it for 100 gold. But people are having to use top quality components and having to use their concentration to make that thing in the first place. On reset day, or the day before reset day, or whenever somebody chooses, somebody comes along and they buys out the entire region supply of those quality 3 materials at 100 gold and resets them to 400 gold. Quadruples the price. Every single one of those only existed because somebody used concentration to make it in the first place. Crafters will not be able to see this reset happen, open their profession, and craft mass quantities to take advantage of that reset. They'll be able to make some, but they will be limited by how many they can make by their concentration. Which means that because in Dragonflight, the reason why market resets didn't really work is because anybody with the recipe could just open their profession and make 1 billion of them, right? If somebody reset Omnium Draconis or something, if there was a reset on those, there was nothing stopping somebody opening up their alchemy and just crafting a shitload of them and then posting them. And then market, you know, that reset just tanks almost instantly again. If the only way that the quality 3 exists is by use of concentration in the first place, and then somebody resets the price on that material, the entire economy has got no chance in reacting to that very quickly, which gives a lot more scope for resets to happen on busy days. Goblins will do goblin things, and it could be quite funny to see. And this is maybe why Blizzard have jacked up the amount of concentration, because they want to know that if something like that happens, that if 100 people then open their profession and dump all of their concentration in, that they will still be able to supply the market at a more... I don't know how much attention Blizzard plays to this, but I still think it could be really fun in the first few weeks. Really fun. Anything that is aggressively restricted to only existing by proxy of concentration is going to be very volatile on price and probably very expensive, because goblins will just make it expensive. They'll force it to be expensive. So it's going to be fun. Right, let's jot down some of this data. Or what are these things called? These are not gyrating gears anymore. These are safety switches. Safety switch. We pilfered 1,000 of them. What did we get? We got 1,017 scrap. We got 23 bolts. We got 3 whirly gigs. We got a blinker fluid. And we got 3 cataclysmic converters. That's outrageous.
What's the word on the street? See you around, friend.
Right, next stack, go. I think it's worth having 2 jewel crafters. It's worth having multiple of every profession. It very much will be worth, like, the rule, you can throw the rule book out when it comes to alt armies, pretty much. If you have 2 jewel crafters, it means you'll have double the concentration allocation that somebody that has 1 jewel crafter will have, meaning that you can, in theory, make twice as many things as somebody that only has 1. This is why alt armies are going to have a field day. If you've got 20, 30, 50 characters you're willing to play professions on, and you can just cycle through them all quickly, spend your know what you're going to spend your concentration on, log on, craft a thing, burn your concentration on that character, log off, move on to the next. That will be the way that players make silly, silly gold at the beginning. watching the stream on a drawing iPad. Nice. Welcome in, Mr. Norton. Some cases, a lot of our concentration is going to be taken to do the NPC orders. Yeah, I do suspect that that's a thing. If we can, depending on how much we can harvest these NPC work orders when the game goes live, you're going to have a priority, I imagine. Players will basically do anything if it rewards a knowledge point, is the way I suspect it will play out. That if an NPC order offers a knowledge point, people will throw gold at it. Because that's a tangible advantage over somebody else. But NPC work orders look better this build. They look better. But I do think they're too random still. Less random would be better. Roughly 3 to 6 NPC work orders twice a week. Yeah, I really hope people just don't get screwed over by RNG on those. If you get 3 work orders turn up and you can't do any of them, it's going to feel so bad compared to somebody that gets their 3 work orders and they can do all 3 of them. Not only can they do all 3 of them, but they also gain knowledge points by doing 2 of them, or they gain 20 artisans metal for each one that they like. This is where random is going to be at its most painful early on in the expansion, when everything's at its most competitive. It will slowly fix itself over time, where the random will be less impactful, but yeah, it's gonna feel rough at the beginning, I think. I don't really know if, like, well, there is a solution to this. The solution is that they just make a smart system from the word go, you know, a smart system that, I mean, it's not like Blizzard don't know what recipes you have, and it's not like they don't know what skill you have in a profession. Clearly, there's a smart developer at Blizzard that could, you know, write into the game code that, you know, at least you have like one, let's just say, elite NPC work order that's customized to your current standing with your profession, to guarantee that there's always at least one NPC work order you can do that will offer you something tangible. But so time will tell. The RNG of the NPC orders simulates a real player environment. It's not a guarantee that the order will be ideal for your progression. Yeah, but we don't need that. We have that. We entirely have that with real orders. That's not what NPC orders are meant to be. NPC orders are meant to be that tool to help you when things get sticky. We don't need a second public order list. We've already got one. We're like that. We don't need a second version of that. Simulating a real world environment. We don't need to simulate a real world environment. We have one. When that real world environment isn't helpful, that's where NPC orders are meant to come in and help. And if they don't, I think it's poorly designed. No whirly gigs, but two blinker fluids, 2, what are these, cataclysmic converters.
Yeah? What do you want? Don't be a stranger.
This is something I see all too frequently when Blizzard implements like something like this. Because NPC work orders, I'm not entirely sure, would have been on their original... NPC work orders might very well be a implementation based on feedback. So it might not have necessarily been something they ever really planned to do, but they're implementing it because of popular demand. And maybe because of shortcomings in other aspects of the profession, as like system as a whole. And it's maybe, you know, that the theory might be that, well, if we add some NPC ones, we can kind of like, we can claim we've fixed the problem even though it's only surface level. Dare I say, Band-Aid solution. Because the real solution here, when it comes to like the profession leveling up, when you're trying to get your 100 skill, the real solution is to make it so that there are various different recipes that can get you from skill 80 to 100. That the real solution is to actually build it into the profession properly so that people don't get stuck. That's the real solution. The real solution is to make it so that people have, whether they choose to go the gear crafting route, I mean, you have different spec trees for a reason. Let's say there's 3 spec trees and 3 distinct routes you can go. Every one of those routes should eventually lead you to being able to get 100 skill in your main profession. The real solution to the problem fundamentally is to make sure that it's built in that, you know, if you spec into prospecting, you have a route to 100 skill. If you spec into ring and net crafting, you have a path to 100 skill. If you spec into gem cutting, you have a route to 100 skill. That isn't the case with the professions as it stands right now. You might only have a path to 100 skill if you take this one specific specialization. In most cases, it's the one that revolves around crafting endgame gear, which feels bad for people who choose to spec in a different direction. And so NPC work orders, instead of Blizzard actually fixing it so there is a path to success from every spec, which would be the proper way of fixing it, their Band-Aid solution is to put fake NPC orders so that it gives the illusion that even if you can't get a real order, then, well, maybe I can get a fake order, and this fake order system is meant to give me some skill point. You know, it's painting a rosy picture, but it feels a lot more like putting lipstick on a pig rather than actually fixing the core issue that most players have complained about in Dragonflight. People had a horrible time getting 100 skill points in their main professions. Horrible time. If you were on the wrong faction, if you played at non-hype hours of the day, if you were on a lower population server, if you had chosen to spec, and that there were so many things that would make it incredibly difficult for you to level your profession in Dragonflight, which is why so many people were like, we need a fix to this. And I think Blizzard have used NPC work orders as like a catch-all fix, anything with the professions. Oh, you need a catch-up system for knowledge, NPC work orders. Oh, you need some fake orders so that you can maybe fill some work orders to get to 100 skill. Have some NPC work orders. It's kind of been a bit of it's Blizzard's safety net for professions, I think. Rather than fixing the individual problems and making the whole system better because of it, they've just slapped NPC work orders on top of it and said, right, this will fix all of your problems. And they'll move on and do something else next expansion. Waiting for the Dark Moon Fair for the old army to get some final points over the months. Yeah, not fun. Yeah, there was an awful lot of people that relied on the Dark Moon Fair for like the final 10 skill points in their professions. Because either they didn't have the right recipes because they'd spec'd in a different direction, Or even the recipes they did have were ones that nobody ever wanted. There were so many problems. NPC work orders, the new mission table. It feels very mission table-y. It feels like in 6 months' time, when everybody's got all of the knowledge points in their professions, and their professions are like giga-maxed, that you might be able to log on and just go boom, 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 boom through a bunch of NPC work orders and harvest those material bags. It does feel a little bit like sort of a new version of the mission table. Whether it will be... I mean, I don't think it'll be as lucrative, but it'll still be a thing. Those old armies that have got 50 characters that will eventually end up with 50 nearly maxed out professions will... The materials that those characters will generate just from the work order bags alone will definitely add up over time. Right, that was another 1,000 safety switches. We got 1,021 bolts. Sorry, no, 1,021 scrap. 26 bolts. 2 whirligigs. Nothing else. Right, I am nearly at the point where I think I've got reasonable data for all of these parts. What do I still technically... I technically have entropy enhancers to test. But as it currently stands, I cannot ever imagine that people will produce or have any reason to recycle them because they're going to be expensive. The null lotus. Although that is based on an assumption. Maybe we shouldn't base everything on an assumption. We should just test them. Entropy enhancers. Get 3,000 of these. Right, this might end up being the last little pilfering we need to do. Or we can take a look at the data and see if we can figure out any patterns. Go, go, gadget, go. These called entropy answer. They were not happy with all of the people not wanting to use the work order system, so now they're going to force us to use it. And use all that lovely data to convince design leads to use it again next expansion. See, everybody doing work orders, they must love it. Oh, it's gross, but it's true. Blizzard are very good at using metrics to convince themselves they're doing the right thing. Yeah, you're wrong. Right, in all of this pilfering so far today, we've not actually had a single pummel permit. I've now pilfered. What's the grand total of stuff I've pilfered? I don't have a grand total. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've pilfered 20,000 parts so far, and I'm yet to get a pummel permit. So it's safe to say the £1 million jackpot item, sorry, the million gold jackpot item is pretty rare. I'll showcase the data in a minute once I've got it all. It looks neat and tidy. And what I can probably do is start to guesstimate, very roughly guesstimate prices for some of these. To do a little bit of a comparison, to try and get a crafting cost for each of the six components? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, to try and get a crafting cost, each of the components that goes into making this mount. To sort of try and get a guesstimation to see whether the 3.1 million gold from the vendor is a good or a bad price. Based on creating one. I think the significant difference is going to be a time thing, isn't it? You look to pilfer to acquire your parts, make one of these mounts. It might cost you a little bit less, but boy oh boy is it going to take you a long time to pilfer everything. These entropy enhancers don't actually look to be very good though, you know. Certainly not better than anything else. Even though they're clearly going to be the most expensive part to make. Maybe I need to put this in 2 sheets. Maybe I should have all of the data collection in 1 sheet and then a separate sheet that does the interesting maths. And it pulls the data results from 1 sheet to another, rather than trying to jam it all in one. Okay, we've nearly done this first 1,000. Got this down. That one. Right, we got 1,436 scrap, 36 bolts, which is about expected, 3 whirligigs, and a blinker fluid. These seem to have the same-ish loot table as the chaos circuits, but are going to be substantially cheaper to craft, I suspect.
What's the
Early
word on the
assumption.
street? Catch you on the flip side.
There's part of me that thinks that they might have actually already balanced this. Because when you look at I've pilfered like 20,000 things so far. When you look at what I've got so far, we are seeing a decline in the amount of things that we get the rarer that we go. I'm still yet to get one of the permits, but I've had a handful of the other stuff. If we compare that to what the actual crafting cost of the thing is. Where is it? This thing. So 1,000 bolts is needed to make it. We're over halfway. 200 assorted whirligigs. Well, we've only got 30 so far. So we're going to be slightly... we'll have the bolts before we'll have the whirligigs. By the time we've got the bolts, we'll still be a little bit short on blinker fluids. If we double all of these numbers, we're nearly there. We're going to be short on these, and obviously we're going to be missing the big one. But it makes a lot more sense that you will always have more bolts than you need. You'll always have more whirligigs. If this ends up being the bottleneck item, then there is part of me that thinks that they might have already balanced this, and they might already be happy with how it is. Because my results are already showcasing kind of what I would actually expect. It doesn't seem broken. That's kind of, I guess, the point I'm trying to get across here. Doesn't seem broken OP, although I've not put gold values to these materials yet to try and work out if it's even viable to do this. Speed potion. Top memer who decided on the names of the materials of the mount itself. How many hidden treasures are there out there, and how many points do they give? For the professions, there is eight treasures per profession, roughly. And they give 3 points each. So there's about 24 knowledge points up for grabs by treasures. Oh, blinker fluids, whirligigs. Yeah. Blinker fluids a funny one. What are the other ones? You got blinker fluid, tartan paint, some sky hooks, a left-handed screwdriver. They could have gone full memes if they wanted to. You plan on doing do this first 3 days of the War Within? We'll do something like that, yeah. We'll do something like that for sure. These are videos that there's absolutely zero reason for me to do until like the week before the expansion goes live, though. There might be some value in a goblin guide to the pre-patch, maybe. I suspect when we get, I'm wondering when we're going to get the XP curve update. Because if the XP curve update kicks in pre-patch, it will also kick in when we still have access to Remix. Remix only takes 2 hours to level a character today. With the XP curve, you'll be able to get a level 70 in Remix in like an hour. It's gonna be stupid. So there might be some things. There might be some crossover with things like that could be quite advantageous for people to know about and deal with. Just want to know if there's one coming or not. Here's all the things I learned from beta. Yeah, there'll be plenty of that sort of stuff. I'm frantically trying. It doesn't, when I'm right here right now, it doesn't particularly look as if I'm that frantic, but I'm frantically trying to get a whole bunch of stuff sort of crossed off and finished and ready, so that once pre-patch launches, that we can do more of that type content. I can't argue. I still feel as if I'm personally playing catch up from not having access to the alpha. If I'd have had an extra 8 weeks to have done all of this, I'd be much further ahead with that style sort of stuff. But we'll get there. We still got time. People be like, nice little old army, but then they realise they need to level every single one of them too. Well, there's not strictly the need to level to 80 if you're just doing it for profession reason. Because once you've hit 80 once, you'll unlock... Once you've hit 80 once, you'll unlock adventure mode. And adventure mode should give all of your level 70s access to anything that a level 80 would have. There's no indication right now that you are going to actually need to level those level 70s any further. Dracothists in Dragonflight needed max level though. They did, but they were a mid expansion edition. They were a mid expansion edition, whereas we're not dealing with that sort of stuff just yet. We got a lot more bolts that time. Another 1,000, 1,435. 52 bolts, 3 whirligigs, a blinker fluid, and a cataclysmic converter. These pummel-proof platings are significantly rarer. And obviously the permits are still completely eluding me.
What's up?
Evading me, what's the word?
Glad I could help.
Right, last stack, and then we can do some good old data analysis. Speed buff, yes. Go. Max level makes everything easier. New zones will likely require level 80, and it's worth. Yeah, this is why not everybody has a massive alt army, honestly. I do think taking full advantage of remix is a smart move, though. Never in the history of World of Warcraft have we had a path to a max level character that's so fast and so accessible for so many people. There's almost no reason to go into the War Within with any less than like 20 characters. If you're serious about having a good foot in the door. Solo leveling speed runs are going to be quite fast, and there are similar areas to do as what we had with the Knockwood Hold and the Brackenhide, so I'm sure there'll be some boosting happening eventually as well. There is every time, right? One thing that you can categorically say for sure is that when there's a demand for something, somebody will be supplying it, because it'll be a way to make gold and, or dare I say, a path into RMT for others. Oh, we've crashed again. I said the word RMT and my game crashed. Sense of irony there. Oh, I've just realised my my tunes info not on. Yeah, remix characters just get converted into regular characters. We don't know exactly how the conversion's going to go, but a level 70 in remix will give you a level 70 in retail. $70 to $81st character is what, 5 to 6 hours, depending on balancing and no boosting. Even if you have to level the alts, it will be a joke. 5 to 6 hours is probably a bit tighter than most people will be able to experience once the game goes live. I would account for about a level, and it depends. If you are full tunnel vision, full zoom, I'm sure you'll get your first character done in 5 to 6 hours. But maintaining a level every half an hour might be quite a challenge for most. I certainly wouldn't go as far as to say that it's like the default or the easy. But leveling's not going to be any slower than usual. Wish we knew a bit more about how the gear conversion would go. I don't want to end up with 30 new level 70s with item level 50 gear. Yeah, I've wondered this. I've wondered if it's just going to take your level into consideration, or whether they will take the item level of your gear into consideration as well. I can't see any reason why, if you've dinged level 70, they won't just give you like a character boost style character. I don't see why they'd need to reinvent the wheel there. They're gonna do, they don't really need to make a new system. If you're level 70, you just get a 70 character boost, is basically what I feel it's gonna be. I'd be surprised if they do anything different. They already have that system, you know. If you apply a level 70 character boost to an existing character, the conversion on that character already happens. I don't see any reason why they'd make a new system when they already have one. They might need to do something for those remix characters that don't reach level 70. That's the only reason they might build something new. But I don't think it's going to be too complicated. Or at least I hope it does. It's not something that needs to be complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. 2 whirly gigs, a blinker fluid, and a cataclysmic converter. Okay. Oh, for God's sake. For the 5th time this stream. Okay, we now have some data to go by. Not conclusive, but we do have some. In that we have chaos circuits, which I have pilfered much more of. If we look at just the scrap numbers, you get like 1400 scrap from chaos circuits, is similar to, seems to have presumably the same loot table as entropy enhancers. That said, entropy enhancers are going to be, I suspect, significantly more expensive to make. meaning that chaos circuits will probably be the go-to if you're trying to pilfer for like mount components. Bismuth bolts, not great success on anything other than getting the bountiful bolts, but the rate on these is significantly less. That's not to say that whirligigs, blinker fluids, cataclysmic converters, pummel-proof plating, and pummel permits can't come from bismuth bolts. You might just have to pilfer a shitload more before you see any, but these are going to be like dirt cheap in comparison, so you got to start considering cost of doing this. This is more time consuming, but it could be cheaper. Whimsical wiring is on the same sort of tier by the looks of things as your bismuth bolts. And you have safety switches and gyrating gears that seem to have a similar-ish loot table as well. These might not be giving you as much piles of rusted scrap, but they do still seem to give a reasonable amount of the, the rarer materials still. The gyrating gears and safety switches are definitely, when the price is right, consideration. Where's me login gone? Hello, game. Oh. Less than level 70s will probably just be given whatever the gear upgrade feature would give them. Oh, that's true. Yeah, they've got that system in place already as well, haven't they? Yeah, there might not be much to this. They might just re-implement whatever the system is they've got already for all level characters. My only hope with Remix is that if you've spent bronze on increasing your item level, that there is some tangible advantage for those characters specifically. I don't know how they'd go about doing that, but if you've spent 600,000 bronze, and clearly a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that as well, it would be nice if those characters, when converted, got converted with at least slightly better gear than just a default level 70 pre-made. But, yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of a personal wish, I suppose, for that, my main character on Remix. Right, so we've now pilfered a shitload of stuff. We are yet to have enough materials to even create one crowd pummeler. We have yet to see the permit. We've only had 4 pummel-proof platings, 18 cataclysmic converters, 27 blinker fluids, 35 whirligigs, and 600 bolts. Off what is
What's up?
over 20,000 different things broken down. Admittedly, a shitload of rusted scrap, which the theory goes here is you should probably how much pile of rusted scrap here? What you should actually do is you should then scour through scrap. You should scour through all of this for more parts to then pilfer those parts again. You should, this is why it's a multi-level recycle. I've only actually done 1 level of recycling. The more scrap you get, the more you can find more parts. The more parts you find, the more pilfering you can do. It's a multi-level marketing formula scheme.
Be careful out.
Okay, that's, truth be told, that's about as much testing of this as I'm kind of willing to do right here, right now.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me?
It's, if nothing else, giving
Both,
me enough
I hope.
data to talk about this confidently. Whoa, 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 hang on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Space Age release date, October 21st. I think that's fucking perfect, you know. I think that's perfect. We're going to be hardcore September The War Within. By 21st of October, I will be ready to play Factorio for 200 hours. Oh my god. Reasoning for this date is it will give us enough time after the summer vacations to polish the release while also leaving enough time afterwards. We need to do bug fix patches before the Christmas holidays. Space Age expansion will be $35, same price as the current base game. You can now wishlist it over on Steam. Oh my god. Oh my god. Bowden, thank you very much for the Prime as well, by the way. Thank you, thank you. Welcome in. Oh my god. Much excite. Factorio Space Age continues the player's journey after launching rockets into space. Discover new worlds with unique challenges, exploit their novel resources for advanced technological gains, and manage your fleet of interplanetary space platforms. The backbone of planetary logistics and the first foray into space. Space platforms are flying factories that act as a means of transportation between planets. Build defenses to shoot down oncoming asteroids which threaten to smash your platform. Catch asteroid chunks, crush them, process them into thruster fuel and turret ammunition. Use the platform hub and cargo bays to shuttle cargo between planets. Ooh! I can't wait. Elevated rails! Oh my god. Oh my god. Quality system being implemented to Factorio. You're sick of quality in World of Warcraft, then have it in Factorio. Smarter worker robots, new rails, remote view, combinator and circuit network improvements, train control improvements, new fluid system, overhauling Nalvis's terrain generation, all coming each week. Factorio Space Age will coincide with the release of Factorio version 2.0, which will be a free upgrade for all users. That's cool. Ooh, spaghetti's gonna be real. Oh, baby. Nice. Put that in my calendar. Put that in my calendar. The wife's gonna hate me, you know. Wife is gonna absolutely hate me. But that is, oh my god, that couldn't be at a better timing. You know what that is gonna do? That is gonna clash so hard with Satisfactory release. When does Satisfactory go 1.0? Do we know that yet? I don't think we do. Do we have a 1.0 release date? No. No, we got people baiting that they know something, but no, we don't know. Okay, that's cool. There must be enough space in that man cave to add a girl gamer desk. No, no, the space is mine. Hands off. Stop selling my studio. Okay, well that's cool. Off topic, but cool. I like. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's given me enough confidence to be able to talk about this in a bit of detail. My plans have been for today to get a bit of data under my belt so I can sort of understand what components are going to be useful or not. What I should probably do is start guesstimating the price of these. Bismuth, more bismuth plus vendor mats, bismuth plus aquarite and some ley line residue. Basically the same but more expensive. Uses more bismuth, uses more aquarite, but uses crystalline powder instead of ley line residue. Let's assume that these have roughly the same crafting cost then. Chaos circuits, which appear to be the best thing to be pilfering. Using both uncommon ores in sizable quantities with the addition of crushed gemstones. This is a real odd thing to have in here, considering it's a consumable that has to come from jewel crafting, from outside the profession completely. This is all mining stuff. These are all mining things. You could pair up engineering with mining, but even if you did that, you wouldn't be self-sufficient with your crushed gemstones, which is the only thing that leads me to think they might swap this out for another material. I kind of hope they don't. But let's put some rough. We can do some napkin math here. Let's. If we assume that bismuth is the basic ore. Bismuth is a basic ore of it. Let's assume bismuth is like 5 gold a piece. 5 gold a piece, that's going to give bismuth bolts 20 gold a piece. But you make 1 to 2. 10 gold a piece. But by the time you add multi-craft and shit in there, 7 gold each for bismuth bolts. Let's say they have a crafting cost of 7 gold each then. If they have a crafting cost of 7 gold, using 3 bismuth doing the same, 15, but with a vendor buy item as well. That's going to be basically the same. These are going to have similar crafting costs, roughly. But with similar crafting costs, they also have similar crafting costs, but they also have similar pilfer results. Gyrating gears are going to use aquarite, another commonly used material. Aquarite. This is uncommon. And uncommonly uncommon, which could mean it's 20 gold each. Ley line residue. Hang on. Also, ley line residue. What's the other one we need? Crystalline powder. Let's assume both of these are like 50 gold a piece. Then iron claw ore, which is going to be cheaper than aquarite, but more expensive than bismuth. So let's just assume iron claw ore is 10 gold a piece. So that means we can... Oh, and then crushed gemstones. Crushed gemstones, at least at quality 1, are not going to be particularly expensive because they'll be a byproduct of prospecting. Quality 3 gemstones will be expensive, but we don't need quality 3. I'm going to assume crushed gemstones are not going to be much more than like 10 to 15 gold a piece. If this is our sort of material list, we can start to apply some potential crafting costs to each of these. Start figuring out roughly what sort of value these things work at. So let's say chaos circuits, 6 What did we say? Acrite, 20 gold. So that's 120 gold. 120, 150, 170 gold. 170 gold apiece. 170 gold apiece. We pilfered 5,000 of them. And this is what we got. I should probably be doing all of this properly rather than in a scuffed fashion, but I also don't know the vendor cost of these off the top of my head. That number multiplied by that number. 850,000 gold. 850,000 gold went into breaking down these chaos circuits. What do we get? We can do some simple math. In fact, where's my Twitter? Add the numbers on. This one. Let's copy these. Bountiful bolts are 100 gold. Assorted whirligigs are 2,500. Blinker fluids are 5,000. Converters are 12,000. Pummel-proof plating are 25,000. And permit to a mill. Whoa, 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 whoa. Relax. So equals this number multiplied by this number. Don't know if they're... no, that works. Go. So we spent 850,000 potentially, and we got ourselves a grand total of equals sum of these numbers. 225,000. Ooh, it doesn't look good, does it? Doesn't look good. Pilfering doesn't look good. Very, very small amount of data, but pilfering doesn't look good. It means your materials are going to have to come in at a significantly cheaper price. You only got 225,000 gold of worth of materials out of spending 850,000 gold. Your chaos circuits are going to have to come in very cheap. Now, obviously, these numbers could change dramatically. If just one pummel permit jumps out, then you're winning. If you don't get a pummel permit, you're in the bin. Welcome to the world of Gamba Gamba. Sent you my data from jewel crafting prospecting. It's in the Discord. Nice one, thank you. I'll have a look at that in a bit. So let's assume where you're going to have to get your chaos circuits for like 100 gold. 50 gold. You'd have to get chaos circuits for like 50 gold to even stand a chance. Which is going to mean all of your other materials are going to have to be super cheap. Okay. I can make this smarter and fancier and actually work properly, but I just wanted to hack together something. But at least it does some of the maths by itself. This number, for example, I could cleverly hack that together by use of these. It doesn't really work particularly well, but it doesn't take into consideration multi-craft resourcefulness, any of that sort of shenanigans, but... Okay. Well, that clarifies for me that pilfering to acquire these materials, you are putting a lot of gambling on getting the permit. If you get a permit, fucking GG, well played. You'll make profit. If you don't get a permit, you're wrecked. Which means we probably need to see just how much you might... We need more data, basically. We need more data. We need more data to slowly get closer towards what an actual average might be. RNG on RNG with some more RNG with a side of RNG. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's the situation. Gamba for sure. Gamba for sure. Are the permits bind on pickup? No. But they are, if you see from this, they're a limited vendor item. The vendor does not sell unlimited amounts of them. Now, we as gamers, as top gamers, will know there are ways to bend that in our favour. But I would equally suspect that this is going to be an NPC that might heavily be camped. There's a strong chance this dude may be camped. Since we don't know just how limited these are. For example, there are vendor recipes available in the game that have like 48-hour respawn timers on them. So let's say, for example, the pummel permit turns up once every 48 hours. 1, they will be camped. 2, it will be sniped by somebody. And 3, it will mean that any that you can get via pilfering will probably sell on the auction house for more than 1 million gold. The flip side is if the limited thing is like 20 minutes, then they'll probably be 800,000 gold on the auction house. But we'll see. Or worse, a super complicated algorithm designed to look like RNG. Well, my initial testing of doing some pilfering, admittedly, I've probably only pilfered 20,000 things. I don't get the impression that it's broken. In terms of it doesn't feel like an early implementation that might change. These values, relative to what we have here by pilfer rates, already feels like it could be, tick, this is a done deal. Because yes, Chaos Circuits, as it stands right now, early expansion prices would dictate your Chaos Circuits are quite expensive, which would mean buying the items off the vendor, gold sinking, let's not forget, sinking, because anytime you buy something off a vendor, that's gold just out the game. Gold sinking at the beginning of expansion might be the cheap way of acquiring these materials. 3.1 million gold might be the optimal way for people to make these mounts early game. But, as we also know, as the expansion goes long and these materials tank in value, and in turn the crafting cost of these parts then tanks in value, you might start to see that pilfering promotes a cheaper way to build these mounts than just buying the items off the vendor. But you'd have to get your Chaos Circuits from 170 gold a piece to like 50 gold a piece, which means your materials that go into them would have to be significantly cheaper. You'd have to like over half the price of everything, which is not outside the realms of possibility. and this is based on only 5,000 pilferings of chaos circuits, so it's take that grain of salt. It's not based on huge amounts of statistical data, but it's enough for me to get an impression that this feels kind of like it could be a finished system. It's quite cool. But yeah, boys and girls, I'm actually leaving it there for today, and in turn, since it is Friday, that is me done for the week. We will be back on Monday. Things should be a little bit more back to normal, a little bit smoother next week. In theory, that's the plan. There might be one day next week where we don't have a stream. I don't know what day that is yet. My wife is planning for us to go and visit one of her family friends next week, but they have not decided what day it will be, nor have I decided whether I'm going to attend said situation. So that might throw a spanner in the works one day next week, but other than that, we should be relatively normal. But thanks all for joining today. I know the least entertaining. I've tried to make the stream as entertaining as I possibly can, whilst we have stood here all day just scrapping parts. But I'm hoping that we learned something together. I'll probably put this into a little video because I think it could be quite interesting for people to see. Do with one more ore type. Oh no, we've got enough to play with. We've got enough to play with already. We've also got these flipping things, null stones, to consider. We've got plenty. But yeah, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, boys and girls. Thanks for stopping by. Come say hi in the Discord if you're not there already. If you're on Team YouTube, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. If you're on Team Twitch, make sure you've hit that follow button. Have yourself a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Peace.